I have a story to share from a decade ago when I was truly starting out, when I was a startup with almost no money at the very beginning. And I remember the biggest hurdle, the biggest fear were competitors and my zip code, believe it or not. So the idea was to create a tactile subwoofer, basically at the very beginning. That's before the headphones. And when I was researching everything, it was like, Jesus Christ, I need so much technology. I need another team member to help me out with the tech stuff. I need more money. I need a better place, an office, a workshop, and so on. And of course, I didn't have that. I didn't have resources. And when I was looking for this, it was like, it became more and more clear to me that it's going to be very difficult to find resources where I am. I was looking at all these startup books and incubators, accelerators, and so on, and I was like, Jesus, from over here, from Slovenia, it's going to be really difficult to build a startup on a global stage. I should probably move to San Francisco or something like that, or maybe Berlin or London, somewhere else where resources are a little bit easier to get. I was really scared. I was afraid that it doesn't matter how good I am, it doesn't matter how great ideas I have, I will not have enough resources, basically, and that the competitors from these zip codes have unlimited resources. They can do whatever they want. That was my perception at the time. It was kind of like a justified fear, at least in my point of view, of course. But then I met with a guy. It's a local entrepreneur doing gaming, roulettes and stuff like that on a global stage, and I was talking to him like for 5 minutes or something, and he asked the question, what do you do and how is it going, what are your plans, what are your problems, and so on. And I was explaining that to the guy, saying I have no idea how I'm gonna compete globally when, you know, there's just not enough resources. I don't have those. It's really difficult. I don't want to give away like 70% of my company for 50,000 euros. It does not make sense. And we were talking about this a little bit, and then he said something really, really important. The important part is, you can be anywhere and achieve great success because it's about the mindset. It's not about the resources. It's about resourcefulness. So what do you do with what you have, and how can you adjust, align with what is possible? I didn't fully understand what he meant by that, so I digged a little bit, and then he simply stopped me and said, listen, Rock, you have the same internet connection that anyone else on the planet. Your competitor from LA has the same internet connection. You have the same knowledge, you have the same, or actually even better education than most, because in Slovenia education is really, really good still, even today. So you know a lot. You have your peers that you can call. It's a, you know, being a small country gives you advantages by being connected with literally anyone. Also in our environment, if you need a prototyping piece, if you need someone to bend the steel or 3D print something, or, you know, woodworking, whatever it is that you need, or even, you know, textiles, material science, and so on, it's all available because there are so many people working in small workshops around the country doing all sorts of things. And you can ask them, yes, come on, there's nowhere to move. Jesus. So you can utilize that, it's a lot cheaper, a lot easier, a lot faster to do the prototyping stage. And even small batches, you can order 20 pieces of something in Slovenia pretty easily. It's a lot more difficult to do that in a big city like San Francisco, for example, or anything like that. Also, the living standard is very, very high, but the cost of living are still very low. So that is a competitive advantage, really. So that kind of like, I started to picture this guy sitting somewhere in London, with a laptop, which is the same laptop that I have, with the internet connection, which is the same that I have, looking throughout the window. But yes, there's nowhere to go. Looking throughout the window and, seeing all these mega city skyscrapers and stuff like that. But at the same time, probably being alone, really difficult to find anyone to work with. The costs are extreme, the rent is extreme. The resources are maybe there a bit more, but there's also a lot of people locally and globally coming to these places and trying to get these same resources. So the competition for the resources is also very high. And also, when you have a mindset of trying to secure resources, you forget about just building stuff. So you spend half of your day trying to find venture capital or something like that, rather than prototype and try to get to the market first. So that was a big change for me. I finally got over this fear that I don't have a chance. In all of a sudden it was like, actually I do have a chance, and I actually have quite a lot of advantages. So I digged in. I used the resourcefulness of the resources that I had available, and I've built prototypes for super low amount of money. It was like $400-500, and I already had a prototype for a few thousand. I had a small series that I could already sell, got the pictures in, put it online and start selling. So in reality, I don't think I would be able to do that in a city with a lot of capital, because my mindset would switch into finding resources. I would try to sell the idea, basically 20, 30, 40% of the company in the early stages, just to get 50 or 100k or $500,000 in, and I would burn for that really quickly, rather than actually try to develop a product and find some sort of a product market fit. So that is my story. That is the reminder for me and for anyone watching this. When you're starting out, it's about resourcefulness. How can you use all the resources that are available to you? That is including the environment where you are. All right, stay safe and sound.